Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome to my channel. My name's Timm, and I'm the blogger behind moslymorgan.com, where I talk about all things life and style, plus a few tips for bloggers and influencers. Today I thought I could give you some background just on who I am and my blogging story. I've been blogging for over 4 years now, 4 years in a few days. I just celebrated my 4th blogiversary, and in that time I've learned a lot, I've grown a lot, and I've gotten a lot of really cool opportunities. I thought I could just share some of that journey with you guys. I started blogging when I was 18. I was a freshman in college, and I had trouble making friends in college. It wasn't that I wasn't necessarily putting myself out there. I had a lot of daytime friends, but I've never been one to be much like a partier. I don't drink. It's just not necessarily my scene. I'm introverted. I like to not be in loud, crowded places. At nighttime, I often found myself lonely, where all my friends were going out and I was just at my dorm watching Netflix. But I wanted a community. That was kind of the root of any anguish I had then. I was I need people. And I was reading a lot of blogs at the time. My favorite was College Info Geek by Thomas Frank. I read his blog religiously. I think he's brilliant. He's on YouTube now as well. I'll have his channel linked because I just think he's great. 10 out of 10 blogger. But I was you know what? I think I could do that. I could be a blogger. I just, I like to write. And fun fact, I applied to write for my college's blog and they shot me down. I got shot down and I was okay, you know what? I think I'd be good at this regardless, so I'm gonna go for it. And I started a blog. I didn't even do it in my dorm room because the night I wanted to start was the one night my roommate didn't go out and I didn't want her asking questions. I was kind of embarrassed by the idea of starting a blog. Just doing something different, something unusual. I didn't want people to think it was weird. Now I don't care. I love that I'm doing something kind of different and unusual. But I was a lot more self-conscious back then, so I was okay, I'm gonna go to the basement and sit in the stairwell and start this blog. I stayed down there for probably 4.5 hours, getting everything set up, and I just dove in headfirst. And I'm going to be honest with you, my blog was terrible. It's the same blog I have now, but I wasn't good at it when I started, but who's good at anything their first try? Well, plenty of people are, but I wasn't. It was rough. I've archived most of the old terrible posts where the formatting's bad, the sentence structure doesn't make any sense. It's just a huge run-on paragraph. The pictures are from my cell phone. But for me, it was the coolest thing to be doing. I loved coming home from class and working on a blog post. If I had free time, I was devoting it to trying to grow this blog that I was so proud of, and eventually it paid off. Even before my content started having much quality to it, it resonated with people. I think when people ask how I grew as quickly as I did, I think a lot of it was I was just filling a need. There were a lot of college-aged bloggers, but I kind of branded myself as a college lifestyle blogger. And as far as I know, no one was doing that at the time. They were a bunch of fashion bloggers, beauty bloggers, but nobody was just blogging about the realities of being, a teenage girl in college and just kind of the everyday nuances. So people wanted to read that content, and at the time no one was creating it, and I just kind of accidentally stumbled into that niche and people liked it, and all of a sudden people were reading my blog, they were sharing my posts with their friends, and I got a lot of viewers in a short amount of time. One of my pins went viral on Pinterest, and that's kind of what started it all for me. It was in May. I started my blog in January, and in May I went from getting between 50 and 200 views a day, depending just how traffic was that day, to one day getting about 30,000 views, page views, and an email from my hosting site hey, you're gonna need to give us more money if this influx of traffic continues. And it didn't. It tapered down, but from that day forth, I'd never again dipped under 1,000 views a day, because that was just kind of the foot in the door I needed for people to know who I was and the content I was creating. And if anyone's interested, that blog post was the 40-something things I learned my freshman year of college, and it was kind of heartfelt, kind of cheesy, but just a bunch of true things that I learned through being in college. And yeah, so that was kind of the post that started it for me. And then that summer, in between my freshman and sophomore years of college, I was working for my dad. He has a mechanical contracting company. In my freshman year, here's another kind of side note. My freshman year, my dad was in the hospital for a long time, second semester, and that was very hard on me. Like obviously that's just like a super hard thing to deal with. I wasn't like processing my emotions well, and I just buried myself into my blog. I just, that's how I found solace. That's where I was like comforted. I wasn't even like telling a lot of my friends like what was going on, but my blog friends knew, and they supported me, and like they got me through that like really terribly hard time in my life. And so, like I said, my dad owned this company. I was working for him, just like doing like office type things. I was actually collecting debt too, which is like interesting, so I'm not confrontational. So I'd like, call people and be like, hi, this is Morgan from, Dale Brady. You owe us some money. If you could give it to us, that'd be great. And like I was terrible at it. I think probably out of like the 100 calls I made, 3 people actually paid. Like I wasn't good at it. That's beside the point. One day I was at work, I was eating my lunch, and I checked my email, and I had an email from somebody who was representing Bing, the search engine that, now regrettably like nobody uses, but I was just thrilled. They said, we want to give you money to write blog posts for us. They wanted 2 blog posts, and they were going to be sponsored posts that lived on my blog, and they were like, how much do we need to pay you? Like, we want your college like voice, like you are the person we're trying to reach, like you are the target demographic, so who better to write this than you? And I was over the moon. So I was researching how much should I charge, and people were saying like these astronomical, to me at the time, numbers, and I was like, no, like that was insane to me. Because at first I was thinking like, $15, I think that would be like pretty fair. And then people were like, charge like $500, and that scared me. So I ended up charging $40 per post, and I was so proud of that. And then I was talking to other people who were on that campaign, and the next like least amount anyone was charging was $350 per post. There were some people charging $600 per. So that was kind of eye-opening for me, but I was still, regardless, so happy I wrote those posts, and that was how my eyes were opened to the idea that I could make money blogging. So after I realized that, I was kind of like just enamored with that idea, because my kind of agreement was my freshman year of college, I worked through high school, so I had a pretty big savings account. I've always been a saver. So my freshman year of college, I wouldn't have a job. Just as I got acquainted, and my sophomore, junior, and senior, I would. But instead, I was able to, by my sophomore year, make blogging my job. It's something I'm actually really proud of when I look back on it. And I was making hundreds of dollars a month through my blog, which covered any expenses that I had. So I was doing that through like sponsored post networks. A lot of the ones I used back then have like since closed down or been acquired by other companies. I was making a few $100s a month. Brands were just like eating the fact that I was in college up, that I was a teenager. So like I actually had, this is so embarrassing, like a quarter life crisis when I turned 20, because I feel like every single brand I worked with when I was a teenager was like, oh my gosh, it's amazing, you're just a teenager and you've got this blog. And everyone was just like fluffing up that teenage ego of mine. So when I was 20, I was like, no one's gonna wanna work with me, this is terrible. People still worked with me, but that was like definitely something that I struggled with, which is embarrassing now because like 20 is like not a big deal at all. Yeah, so I continued working with brands. By my junior year, I was making thousands of dollars a month, which was crazy to me. But then for anyone who's been like following me for a long time, you probably already know my junior year I hit a bit of a hiccup, like emotionally, mentally, and I was in like just such a bad place. Like when I think about it now, like it makes me want to cry that I thought that was normal and like I didn't get help for a long time. And when I wasn't doing well emotionally, my blog suffered a lot. I wasn't following through working with brands. I wasn't responding to people reaching out to me. I wasn't publishing good content when I was publishing content. And like, yeah, things suffered. So I ended up taking a break from school, and that kind of spiraled into me dropping out of school. Yeah, I'm a college dropout, hey guys. But I took that break from school and moved to New York City, got my internship that's turned into the job I have now, and just had like this big, I don't know, journey sounds so cheesy, but that's kind of what it was. Like I did a lot of things that scared me, a lot of things I never really thought I would do, and kind of found who I am and what I should be doing. And I was able to kind of pick back up with my blog again, which is great because it made me sad to see my blog suffer, and I honestly think that made things harder on me emotionally, knowing that I was in like such a bad place. I couldn't will myself to do the one thing I loved more than anything else. Like blogging, to this day, is still one of my favorite things in the world. I never necessarily thought I would have a platform to speak to people and like have my ideas heard or give advice. When you guys email me and I'm able to be like, hey, like here's my opinion on like whatever you just emailed me about, it's kind of surreal, like that people care enough to email me and ask for my advice on things. Like, just blows my mind. There's a blog or a video I did it's an embarrassing one, but the one where I talk about leaving college and like I break down in it. It's very raw and like you can see like I'm not in a good place, but I've had like, I know that's been shown at dozens of colleges during freshman orientation, which is like slightly mortifying, but at the same time, it's cool to know that I can make an impact in that way and that like, they're just people who care to listen to me. So thank you guys, like everyone listening to me now, you don't know how much that means to me. It's incredible. But kind of getting off track and like off the journey. So when I was in New York, like back on track here, when I lived in New York, my Instagram grew a lot. People thought it was interesting and cool that I was in New York City, so I probably gained like 4,000 followers, which is a lot for me in that like 6 months I was there. Then I moved back home. New York's like, I think New York's an incredible city. I wouldn't want to live there again. It was just expensive and noisy, and I had some like enough like very negative encounters with strangers that I should do like story times about like all of like the scary things that happened like with strangers when I was in New York, and probably give my entire family a heart attack because I go back to New York for work a lot. But yeah, so I came back home and then I had like another crisis. I was like, my blog's gonna suffer. Everyone thinks it's cool that I live in New York. That makes me like, you know, I don't know, people were interested in that. And my blog definitely suffered. When I moved back to New York, I was getting probably like 70% of the page views I used to. People unfollowed me on Instagram. Because like there are people who are only interested, like they want to live in New York themselves one day, so they follow people who do so they can get kind of acquainted with like what the city life is. And so I just wasn't like, they weren't my target audience and I wasn't somebody they wanted to be following, and that's fine. I'm over it, but yeah, that was hard, and I've kind of found my like cadence again. I've built my following back up, my page views back up higher than they even were when I was in New York. And through blogging, I've been able to travel, which is crazy. I've gone on press trips with, let's see, I'm trying to think. The most recent one, I went to New York City with Pantene. Before that, I went to Cincinnati for the Procter & Gamble headquarters and had a FemPower weekend with Tampax and Always. I went down to St. Louis Fashion Week. I've done Omaha Fashion Week. I've done College Fashion Week in Chicago. I did a press trip with Listerine to New Jersey. Like, being able to travel has just been crazy to me because that's something I've always wanted to do, and I haven't gone on like any of like the huge like benefit trips to like the Maldives that all of the Insta-famous bloggers go on. But I don't know, it's just, sometimes when I think about the doors that blogging's opened for me, my mind is just like amazed because I never imagined that would happen for me, and through blogging it has. A lot of people in my real life ask me things like why is it different for you? Like, I started a blog in high school, like a Blogspot blog, and it never took off. And like my one answer is I took it seriously from the get-go. From the beginning, it was like the one thing I did that was like totally mine and I was so proud of. And I think like that level of devotion and like just, I was almost addicted to blogging for a long time, where it was all I thought about, all I wanted to do. Any moment of free time, I would say no to plans with friends because I wanted to go home and write a blog post. And I think that feverish, like just like dedication to it helped me grow quickly. Obviously, I'm still pretty irrelevant as far as bloggers go. I'm a micro blogger. I have like a small platform, even though it's not small. When you compare yourself to bloggers with millions of followers, yeah, it's small. But I was just talking to my friend the other day and she's like, you do realize you have more like followers than there are people in our city. And I was like, that's crazy to me. So like things like that kind of put it all into perspective. I'm not a full-time blogger now, and I did a video on why just a few videos ago. I think one day I will be-ish. Okay, here's the thing. I kind of want to open a cafe eventually, so that might be something that's down the line for me, but I think there will be a few years where I'm just a blogger once I decide I want to start a family. I think that's something I'm interested in. I'm really content at Teachable right now, and I feel like if I was unhappy there, I probably would just quit and blog, but for me it doesn't make sense to like say, no, I'm not going to do this job that I enjoy doing and give up on like income and benefits so I can call myself a full-time blogger. I know a lot of people, like, I don't know, I think people think that you're going to be taken more seriously if you're a full-time blogger, but I don't think that's necessarily true. I think it can benefit you, like maybe if you're like doing courses or something, to say I'm a full-time blogger, but at the same time I could say I make a full-time income and now I have that same amount of clout, right? But yeah, so I'm not a full-time blogger. I have plans to be probably in like 4 years, 5 years down the road sometime. But yeah, we'll see. That's kind of my story. It's kind of like just a rambly little thing. I didn't structure this. I just thought I could talk about who I am and what I've done with my blog. If you guys have any questions, I do want to start making more blogging videos because I know a lot of you guys subscribe to my channel for those, and I don't want to kind of lose how I got started. So yeah, let me know what kind of videos you'd like. And thank you guys for watching, and thank you for being part of like this journey. Everyone who's like supported me in any way has had a part in changing my life. Thank you so much, because I don't know where it'd be without all of you guys. So I'll be back with another video soon. Thanks for watching. If you liked this, you can give it a thumbs up or subscribe. My social media channels are down below if you want to follow me anywhere else. Okay, thanks guys, bye.